Chief Justice of India and asked him to take suo motu action, but he did not. So this was in the background of the anger of the Bhagwa people that this kind of protest cannot be tolerated, and it is going against their plans and their strategy to put Muslims, especially, of course, and others also, I suppose, all marginalized people who do not have proper papers. I mean, Dalits don't have proper papers, and Adivasis don't have proper papers, and also Muslims also, a majority of Muslims being poor and illiterate, they don't have proper papers. So they wanted to put all these people on the sidelines and on the margin, snatch their nationality from them. So these protests were very much, cause of anger and anguish in the to the people of a certain ideology, and they wanted to teach them a lesson. When they failed, when they came with their firearms and shot at people in Shaheen Bagh, in Jamia Nagar and other places, and they did not succeed, then they planned to attack them in a big way. And this happened in Northeast District, and on the 23rd of February, when Mr. Kapil Mishra came there and threatened in the presence of the DCP, who is the highest police authority in that area, and said that if these people are not removed, we will remove them by force. So this is what happened, and they had, according to my understanding and proofs that I had collected during my visit, official visit to the area, affected area on the 2nd of March, we found that Muslim houses, Muslim shops, Muslim workplaces, Muslim offices, Muslim garages were pinpointed and attacked in the same area. If houses and shops of other communities were located, they were not attacked. So this all, and also I got some proof from 3 schools over there, the Rajdhani school, the DPR school, and also the Arun school, that people from outside had come and they had stayed there for 24 hours. And these young people who were well built and who were using hoods and they were camouflaging. And these people took over the schools and maybe other buildings also. And they were going out in small trucks and attacking houses and shops and buildings and then coming back. So all this was planned. I knew this, and I said this when we issued our first report on the 4th of March. We said this very much, that the riots were planned and a certain community was targeted. And after that, I wrote a letter to the concerned Minister of Revenue, asking him to establish an inquiry committee, but he did not respond. So we waited and waited and waited, and then the Minority Commissions Act allows us to establish such committees ourselves. So we did it. On the 9th of March, we did it. And then the committee started meeting. Once they met in our own office, thereafter they met in other places. But before they could really go into the act, the COVID-19 attacked us, and their work was very much affected. And for the next two and a half months, roughly, they could not properly function. Still, they were doing it via Zoom and all that. And once the lockdown was not taken off, but it was somewhat lifted in the first unlockdown, they started again, and they asked me, the chairman of the committee asked me to give them some more time. So we gave them until the 30th of June, but they were quick enough, and they presented their report on the 27th. After that, we spent some time on getting it edited and formatted and designed and all that, and we printed it. And thereafter, on the 13th of July, we sent copies by hand to the Lieutenant Governor, to the Chief Minister, to the Deputy Chief Minister, to all the ministers, and also to the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Delhi. And then we waited for a few days. On 16th, we released the report to the press and also to the world media and national media and world media. And this is the story behind it. So actually, we wanted to put these things on record. We don't have great hopes that somehow this is going to change all things. They are trying. I mean, the establishment is trying, and the central government is trying, police is trying to change the narrative and to turn the victims into planners and executors of the riots, which is, of course, wrong. And this is the gist of the report which has come from this committee. They were freely working. We did not interfere in their work in any way. And whatever they said has been printed. We did not change it in any way. This is the background of the report, and I think that maybe it will not affect the course that the central government and Delhi police are taking. But in any case, this has jolted the public opinion and international public opinion also. People will know. And for many years, I think this report will be remembered, and I think also it will be presented in courts. So we have done, I hope we have done a good job to bring the facts, the real facts on record. And
sir, yes. Yes, one intervention. I don't think that you have not achieved a lot. I think the report was being prepared, and I think that the communal forces might have got some clue about that you are doing a very serious job, and that is why they tried to demonize you in that tweet incident, and they have said that you have asked the Arab forces to come and intervene in India. This was all planned, and now I could understand.
That is true. Yes, yeah. Actually, not just the report. Our actions in the Northeast and other areas also, of course, but in the Northeast, from the 24th of February, we were intervening with the police, with LG, with CM, with the DCP, and we were sending them notices, letters, and all that. So this was annoying them too much. And also, we sent notices about Kapil Mishra, and in their names.
Sir, it is your success. I think it is your success that you have made great intervention.
I hope.
That is why.
I hope it will.
Yes,
I hope
yes.
it will.
And I think we will come back again to you, and we will ask about the challenges. I think the best person to speak is in this show, in this discussion, is Senior Advocate M.R. Shamshad Sahab.
Yes, of
M.R.
course.
Shamshad Sahab has prepared wonderful report. I think I have read it, and it is full of empirical details, and he has done great thing, because going against the tide is not very easy. And when media is reporting the police version as its own version, and it is saying that Jamia Millia Islamia, Aligarh Muslim University, Muslims community, protesters, they are responsible. He has, and his team, I think we must congratulate them. The team has meticulously taken, has great pain. They have collected all details, and the report is there, and any person who reads that report with open mind will think that the culprit is sitting somewhere else and innocent people is in the jail. So I want, and I request M.R. Shamshad, the senior advocate, to speak about the report and also his experience, because it was very painful experience to go and meet with the people. And he has said that many people were not ready to share FIR because they were threatened, and they thought that if they speak with the fact-finding report, the police may come and police may harass them further. Sir, please tell us about your experience.
Thank you very much, Abhay ji. Dr. Khan has already put forth the background of the entire thing. Devika ji is here, and she'll be speaking after me, so she'll also put forth certain important facts. See, this report, I'll just put in 2-3 lines. This report is certainly a report which shows collective effort of all the 9 members who worked together. So the achievement goes to everybody equally. I was just there to coordinate and see that things come in proper perspective, and that probably we have succeeded to a great extent. Personally, I may have had and still have uh, so many other things to say, and we can add that when I am speaking individually. So if I would have added my personal view, probably this report would have gone in few more pages. But this is a report of all 9 members, and they have put it like this. See, if I need to speak about the report, then probably many things have been already put. So without repeating what has already been put in the report, I will I would like to give you a little different perspective to it. Dr. Khan has already said that see, the background was how this entire CAA movement was going on, and how certain people and a lot of people did not like it. The entire country was agitated with this, and there were lots of protests in different part of the country which were very aggressively taking a stand that, see, this CAA is a wrong legislation. It is highly discriminatory. It has no place in the constitutional setup of our country. In that background, Delhi was also charged, and obviously Delhi had taken lead in this matter. The universities students had taken lead in this matter. So that was certainly one of the factor that these people wanted to create a serious disturbance, to disrupt this entire protest going throughout the country. And that is what they have reflected in the charge sheet subsequently. See, if you read these charge sheets in which the conspiracy case of murder of Mr. Ankit Sharma has been set up, you will get to know that what was going on in the mind of people who did not like this protest, despite the fact that the charge sheets are prepared with focus to relate the issues with the evidences. There is a charge sheet or series of charge sheets in which there is a narrative which has been set up, and large part of that narrative is how this CAA protest was undesirable movement. So that is the background. Now, why this CAA protest was there, and why people were agitated so much, that is the issue of discussion. And nobody is discussing this now. That time, certainly civil society discussed that issue. Today, that focus has shifted on Delhi riots, and police has taken a stand that Delhi riots was because of CAA. Why this CAA? That is most important. CAA was an issue which in Indian history, for the first time, an issue which is so basic, which is so important for an individual's existence, was related with the religion of the concerned person. That was the issue. And that's why people were so agitated, in which civil society had come on the road. Obviously, large number of Muslims were participating in this, but there were a lot of civil society members who were there. This was the legislation which tried to legitimize the concept of, in a way, the people have been saying Islamophobia. So this is the legislation which somehow tried to sever the relationship of an individual without any religion with the state. Because if I am an individual, I have certain relationship with the state, the government. Religion has no place. But since the individual's existence itself was made relatable to the religion, so the religion came in between. And that's why Even United Nations few bodies took a stand by saying that it is highly discriminatory legislation. It's not only Indians who were agitating. The entire in the world at so many places, this agitation was going on just to reflect that this is a wrong legislation and this has no place in a democratic system. So that was the background. And if that legislation was being protested by individuals in the country, rather than taking it into a proper perspective, you impose certain communal right over the head of those protesters. This is what in fact has happened. And in this background, as Dr. Khan has stated, that see, there were many leaders who were making provocative statements, and few leaders went to the extent of saying that if somebody will not listen from Boli, then we will use Goli. So these kind of a statement and this stage had reached, and at some stage somebody went there and did the same thing in Mojpur on 23rd of February, what Ram Bhakt Gopal did in Jamia, and somebody did in Shaheen Bagh. So that is the background. Now coming back to the report, I would say that, see, obviously it was a task which was certainly difficult considering the entire overall situation right now. It became further difficult because of the lockdown situation and restrictions on movement. But see, in the report we have been able to put this entire background, and then we have said how the individuals felt during the communal rights and how their issues have been dealt with by the administration and police and civil society. So post 23rd of February, we have dealt with this situation by recording the testimonies of individuals to narrate their understanding and their situations, how the attack took place, how the administration responded, and how the police personnel responded to the problems that they were facing those days. Then we have gone to explain as to how the police has responded to the entire situation. See, in all communal violences, not this violence, the role of police becomes extremely important. Court comes much later. In this case, even courts were approached, but somehow the court's assistance was not so much in this case. See, the role of police in this case has been we have already narrated this. I just want to elaborate a bit on this. See, once communal violence takes place or somebody is targeted and attacked, the individual first thinks to go to the police and seek assistance. There are many testimonies where these individuals are saying that, see, the police's gypsy was standing nearby where the attacks were happening. We went and requested the police that please help us. These rioters have entered our home. They are doing arson. They are looting our stuff. They are beating our daughters. But the police were not moving from their gypsies. There is second type of problem that, when the police was not found at that location, they kept calling the police. On many calls, the police took the phone and they said, assured that they will be helping them, but they never helped. Many instances when the police never responded to the calls. So this is how the police responded during the riots. We have already seen on video camera how the police at some places, they were breaking CCTV cameras installed by the Delhi government. there is an instance where the police personnel itself is participating with stone pelters and they are throwing stones. So these are the situations we have been able to put in the report during the riot. After the riot also, you know, there is a serious problem in registering the FIR. Once you go to the police station and ask for help saying that this is the problem I am facing, please take the complaint. First of all, there is a lot of resistance in lodging the complaint. Once you accept the complaint and put the diary number, then only the process of criminal justice starts. Now, at the very first instance, if you have so much of difficulty in registering your complaint as diary number, then there is a serious issue, and we all need to raise this issue and discuss about this issue. And like other in other communal violences, in this violence also the problem has been there. Then comes second stage, those who were able to get the diary number, the FIR was not registered for long time. Even today, many of them don't know whether their complaint were registered as FIR or not. Third stage is that if you register the complaint as an FIR, then you don't do investigation. See, everything happened in 3-4 days, but an investigating agency has no business to take 5 or 10 or 20 FIRs and complete the investigations, set a narrative, demonize the people named in that FIR and charge sheet, and the other set of persons, FIRs, are not investigated upon. If that is not investigated upon, and on the other hand, one set of FIRs have been investigated upon belonging to a particular set of persons, and after investigation, you release it to the general public, that comes into public domain, and then you start saying that this is how the entire communal violence happened, whereas the other set of facts have not even been investigated upon. That is a very, very serious issue that has happened in this communal riot. We have put this in our report. Now the issue is that police's role has been discussed so much. Many things have come in the media, and it is already in public domain. As far as these targeted attacks, non-registration of FIRs, it is not as if we have said it for the first time. There is a lot of doubt of general public and civil society, accused, complainants, victims, every section of the society, those who have not got their complaint registered, they are aggrieved from the police's action today. Now, if there is so much of problem and so much of questions about police's action, why you don't become transparent? The police has given an affidavit in the High Court saying that, sorry, we will not disclose to whom all we have arrested. Though we have arrested 1,400 people, I will not disclose the FIR, that what all FIRs we have registered. Yes, we have registered 754 FIRs. Yes, we will not disclose all the charge sheets. Though we have prepared 180 charge sheets, and selective charge sheets have been released to the public domain or the media to set a particular narrative. So these are larger issues. These are larger issues need to be discussed. Now, at this stage, if the police arrests somebody without disclosing their name, and after 3 years, as it has happened in the past, or 10 years, the police doesn't find any evidence to justify the detention, to justify the conviction, the poor person is let off by the court, and thereafter nobody talks about his problem. So the basic question is, at many levels, that, you know, from registration of complaint to registration of FIR and investigation of the case, and then thereafter arrest, etc., and then you don't talk, why did you arrest that person? So these are larger questions which civil society needs to know, needs to understand, and ask them that, sorry, this is what, see, I will put you an example. In Muzaffarnagar violence, hundreds of FIRs had been registered, but we see today how this entire criminal justice system has been played around. Now there is no conviction. The people have just been let off. Now one set of people certainly have been convicted. Now if the same line we are choosing despite that experience of very recent past, then that is very sad state of affairs. We all need to discuss about it. Your voice is not coming. I think you are on mute.
Mr. Shamshad, thank you very much. I think we all have read your report, the fact-finding report. And for some time, I am also doing some research on police. And your report is very important as far as police reform is concerned, because it focuses the very serious issue that if democratic India has to survive, if minority rights have to be protected, then police must be made accountable. Police cannot say no to minority commission. Police cannot say no to the marginalized people when they seek their help. Now, I think another member of the fact-finding committee, Devika Prasad ji, she is also with us. And I think her observation is very important. And I would like to say the contradiction that women were at the forefront of protesting against sectarian and religion-based Citizenship Amendment Act. And I myself have seen and witnessed protests in Sahin Bagh and other areas where women taking their children, they used to sit whole night in that cold, biting winter, and she were giving slogans, and she were singing national anthem. They were protecting democracy, they were protecting secularism of this country. But what has happened? The police and the gundas and the Hindutva forces, they have attacked our own women. And as the report has said, that there is incident of verbal violence, physical violence, and also sexual violence on them. Most unfortunate, women have been targeted because of their religious identity. Their burqas have been torn off, and inappropriate comments have been made related to their religion and their faith. So, Devika Prasad ji, please tell us that issue, the issue of gender and violence.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having all of us and for having me. And it's always such an honor to be with everybody here. And I must say, if I will speak about that issue, but if I can actually touch on a few things a little bit larger than that, and I'll come to that. One thing that I must also, at least for me personally, is that it was a great honor to be on this fact-finding committee, but it also really came, I think, with a burden of responsibility in terms of, ensuring that the true narrative, that a narrative which must be said, that that really, irrespective of everything which is being, that really comes from the affected persons. And that context, I think that was something that for me was, it always felt, how can one do this, especially in the restrictions and all that, we had to work under. But I think, like Shamshad sir said, we just, we managed to come together and we got through it. And I think all of us would have probably wanted to say more, but, we had to get it done. And I think we did what we could in the time that we had. Now, I actually, from my perspective, what I feel is that incidents like this and findings like ours, what they really show us is the absolute impunity that we are all currently living under. The fact that you could have the kinds of speeches which were being made in open from January of 2020. And this comes, I must say, on the back of, the situation at Jamia, the situation at JNU, the situation at, when we look at Delhi, Jamia, and all of those, the violence that was perpetrated by different sets of people, including the Delhi police in December 2019. So really, it truly was something which, there was a buildup for sure. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, it culminated in what it did. And in that, all of that, there was also this absolutely unprecedented and truly amazing community-led, women-led, student-led, youth-led wave of protests across the country, which to my mind, the distinction is that these protests were never co-opted by anybody, not any political organization, not any civil society organization, and I say that responsibly coming from civil society, not anyone. It was truly an intuitive and very organic protest that has come from different sections of society and very proudly led mainly by Muslim women. And I think, what everybody is pointing to, that we're not only looking what this whole incident and what everything which precipitated it tells us is the criminalization of dissent on one hand, and the total impunity for the breakdown of rule of law, for inciting violence, and for a majoritarian discourse, which is both from state bodies, political leaders. So all of this is what is contending with each other. And unfortunately, I would say that we probably can't expect that, it would have been any different because of everything that we had seen in Delhi in the months preceding also. So, that is one thing I think to say. The other thing also is that, I think marking such breakdowns, it becomes even more apparent that it probably was, that it was planned or that it was enabled by different forces, state and non-state, seeing that the Delhi police had all the powers and didn't have to go to any political authority to exercise that powers that it has under the Delhi Police Act to prevent, prohibit, and take action if violence has broken out. The Delhi police could have done that on its own. It did not need any court intervention. It did not need any intervention. The Delhi Police Act empowers the commissioner to take certain actions, very specific actions. None of those actions were taken. And it is the same pattern we see in all incidents of mass communal violence, where police don't exercise the powers that they lawfully have. So now, if we strip it away of everything else, of the communal picture, etc., if we just see it as an absolute failure of a lawful body which is there to maintain law and order in a city, it just wasn't able to do that. It failed to do that also. And why? And now when we answer the question of why, then we come to those very, very, insidious and beyond problematic, but I don't even know, it's so difficult to even quantify it, that then it does have to do with bias, majoritarianism, communal, an underpinning or an overt showing. So truly, the Delhi Minorities Commission's response, while we are praising it as we should, because it was truly proactive, but that is simply the response that any institution should have taken, that the Supreme Court of India should have taken, that the National Human Rights Commission should have taken, right here in Delhi, not even anywhere far away. And we didn't see those responses. So we truly are in a state of impunity, of institutional co-opting, or just absolute abdication of duty. And I think, like Sir pointed out, and all of us are probably thinking in our minds, that truly our, the state of democracy, the nature of democracy itself is already in peril. So now that's a statement to make, but the fact that all of this has happened indicates the absolute failure. Now, on this question of the other thing also that I think is important is the inadequacy of the criminal justice system to deal with mass violence. Now we have a sort of a catch-22 situation that when we point to complicity of the law enforcement agency, active connivance of the law enforcement agency, inaction of the law enforcement agency. Now that same law enforcement agency, which is, is accused of all of these very serious charges, and which of now there is at least evidence is coming forth, that same agency is also to investigate and get to the bottom of what happened, who were perpetrators, who are victims. So, what do we do with all of this now? Where is the legitimacy of the Delhi police to actually carry out its mandated role? As the investigating body, as the police. And we can see, I mean, in this order that recently came from the special commissioner, in which it was reported, I think in the Indian Express, in which he said that some Hindu arrests are being made of Hindus. And so the community is feeling, the community is feeling there's a degree of resentment. Those are the words which were used. And so he then ordered all of the supervising officers and investigating officers to take due care and precaution in making arrests, that no arbitrary arrest should be made, that all arrests should be made backed by sufficient evidence, that evidence is to be discussed with the prosecution. Now, all of this is not something that has to come into an order. It is already the lawful mandate of the police, and the Code of Criminal Procedure lays all of this down. But here we have an order which is being passed and said that because one community is feeling a degree of resentment, all of this must be done. And I think there's been some, trying to backtrack, etc. But this is quite clear, and we know what we are dealing with. So we really are in a situation of how do we move forward when the institutions which are actually supposed to lend justice, act to uphold the law, are the same institutions which in many ways are the ones who are perpetrating the worst kind of criminality and human rights violations, constitutional rights violations, etc. So I don't know the answer to this question. We've tried to attend to it in some way through our own report. But I mean, I think, this is really a question for all of us in terms of, so not just this incident, but, in terms of our criminal justice system more largely. Now, on the issue of women and gender-based violence, it actually, I think that it becomes even more difficult and even more problematic for this kind of justice system, and certainly for this kind of police, which is, male dominated, and of course, I think dictated by, there are community undertones, which, not even undertones, which is, you can say majoritarian. How is this police ever to ensure that women are to be given justice of any kind? We've seen what's happened in Bihar, in Araria, where a victim who was deposing before a judge who only asked for what is her due under the law. When she said, I cannot understand, when she said that I cannot understand what is going into my statement, she is fully within her right to say, I must know what is going into my statement. She was immediately arrested, and two of her support persons are also arrested. So, the criminal justice system is not at all, forget being kind. It can't even respond to women in the way that it needs to. So I think, the difficulties that others will have, it's compounded when we look at what women will go through. And especially as we found, at least in terms of testimonies and what women themselves have said, that the police themselves were complicit in, communal comments and violent actions with, sexual connotation and dangerous connotations. So I don't have answers for this. I do feel that, that set of, I think probably the cases of sexual violence have not even reached the justice system. At least if some others have reached the justice system, these cases will not even have reached the justice system as yet. And I do wonder if it's even fair or right to ask for this to go forward, because we know that it's going to be such a long, hard road for everybody who's fighting these cases. So I really tried to try and think of something forward looking to say, but I think right now it really is very difficult to think in that way.
Thank you, Devika ji. Two questions have come up. One is about the word riot and pogrom. I think I have read the fact-finding report. It has said that it is not riot, it is pogrom. And it has mentioned it that the media was wrong to portray it as a fight between two communities. I looked up also dictionary, pogrom, where you deliberately try to destroy. The pogrom word is destruction, devastation. So pogrom is there. The second question is, and I think that is very important, and the next round of our discussion will largely touch that issue. What is the road ahead? The report has been made, the report is public, but I think we have done half of it. Unless justice is achieved, unless those who are culprits, they are brought to book, unless compensation is given, and unless we make riots and violence and pogrom history, I think this report cannot be termed a success. So, Dr. Zafarul-Islam Khan, I think we should begin with you. A very interesting fact, the print reported recently that several reports related to communal violence were with Home Ministry, and somebody filed a RTI and they were not able to get it. So then the matter was brought to Central Information Commissions, and then commissions wrote that where have gone these reports? The 13 reports are not to be found on the website of the Home Ministry. And the Home Ministry said, we don't know. So there has been a deliberate attempt by the vested interest, by the communal forces, to even delete those files, But you have done a great thing that the file is open in public domain. It has been largely circulated, but communal media, mainstream media is not much talking about it. Alternative media is doing some stories about it. So, sir, you are no longer the chairperson, and you will be remembered as one who has given life to the so-called Dead Minority Commission body. So do you think that there will be another Zafarul-Islam Khan at Delhi's Minority Commission, and the half work which you have done, Shamshad Sahab has done, will be carried forward?
See, I cannot tell future what will happen in future. Maybe a better person will come. But I must assure that the powers that the commission, this commission and other commissions also have, I think all of them have similar powers. If they use them, they can do a lot. But if they don't use them and just say, find excuses, they will not do. So anybody, we have at least shown that you can use these powers and you can achieve a lot. And not just this report, we have broken many new grounds actually during these 3 years. So I hope this will happen in future, and maybe better people will come. About this report, I think if it achieves to get justice for the victims, that will be the greatest thing. But also our target should be that such events do not happen. This is very important. If these people get justice, the victims get justice now, I think this will put a break. I mean, not fully, but at least to some extent, it will put a break on the plannings and on the kind of plots that a certain lobby or certain group of people, maybe Hindutva people, has, to put minorities and marginalized people in this country on the margins. So if that happens, I hope this report will have achieved its aim and its target.
Sir, do you think that if the report had been prepared earlier and you would have got at least 1 month or 2 months time, things could have been different?
You see, you should not look at this, at something, a question of time. If we were just looking at time, it could not have been published even now. But we were working very hard, day and night, not just this report. At the end of our tenure, in the last week, we presented 4 reports actually to the government. All of them were important, but this one, of course, being very much in the media and also in political circles, it got that kind of attention. But other reports are also, like the report on anti-Sikh riots, that the survivors of the anti-Sikh riots of 1984 have still not got justice. And some very strange facts came to light when we did this study. One of them is that the plots that were given to the victims are still not freehold. Still the state owns them. So we have recommended that these plots should be made freehold and given to the victims. This is very important. I mean, you cannot keep them waiting. I mean, these something like 35 years, and still they don't own the land on which their house is built. Same thing is about the women in Northeast District. I mean, this study was conducted before the riots, but it is very important to know how minority women are living, what are their aims, what are their goals, what are their dreams. And this brings out quite well their problems and the duties of the state to raise their status. And the fourth was our third year's annual report, which gives you all the details about what we have been doing all these in the last year of our tenure, despite the problems of elections, because of course during the elections, even before the election, there is model code during which our bureaucracy does not allow us to work anything. And then came the COVID pandemic. Despite all that, we were able at the end of our tenure to present 4 reports to the government. And by doing that, we actually completed all our plans and we did not leave anything behind for the next commission. Next commission will start its slate as new, and they will plan and they will do whatever they wanted. So I think it's not just a matter of time. If you use time properly, if you do it judiciously, you will be able to achieve what you wanted and what you planned.
Sir, please answer it very briefly. I think I am personally interested in political questions also. We know that the Delhi government has been supported by the secular voters and secular people. Overwhelmingly, they have supported it, but the Delhi political leadership, they were silent when people were dying. But can we see some hope when there is a fight and tussle between the Delhi government and police and LG over the appointment of public prosecutor?
Yes, of course. I think before I answer this, I should also mention that during the first few days of the riots, the Delhi government or its chief minister and ministers did not do anything to stop the riot. But after the riots, they did something. They started paying compensation, which is very important also. I mean, of course, stopping the riots is much more important. But even after the riots, it has been a tradition in our country that victims are not paid. I mean, the victims of Muzaffarnagar were a rare, instance where victims were paid by the state. So here also, the Delhi government paid compensation. It is not very adequate, and our report has said that, but still they did it. And now I think there is a tussle. This tussle is because there are attempts by the BJP and also by the Congress to put the Aam Aadmi Party in the dock and to somehow say that they were responsible for the riots. And I think this has made them take this decision, which is right. You cannot give liberty to the police, which is trying to change the narrative, to appoint its own solicitors, its own lawyers. I think if that happens, justice will not be done.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zafarul-Islam Khan. Now, I think I should come back to Advocate Shamshad. Sir, we have read your report. Several recommendations have been made. Some of them are that the Minority Commission should approach central or Delhi government. They should file appropriate petition in the appropriate court. Also, the setting up of 5-member independent committee. Given the political situation where talking about the rights of the marginalized community is seen as going against the majority community. So from legal point of view, from the point of view of civil society, what we can do to carry forward our agenda for peace and justice?
Thank you. This is the most important question and most serious question, which needs to be addressed not only by persons like us, but the entire system, the civil society, the police system, the bureaucratic setup, the political leadership. Now, ultimately, what happens? See, wherever there is a communal riot, recently there were 2 judgments by Delhi High Court. One was in relation to 84 riots, in which one gentleman has been convicted, and that was 84. There was another police atrocity relating to Hashimpura case, which has been now decided at the level of High Court, and now Supreme Court will. What the case is, the High Court is very, very categorical. They say about Hashimpura case that it was a targeted killing. About Sikh riot of 1994,
Crime against humanity.
High Court's observation is that it was engineered by political actors. Now, if you see the contemporaneous situation and the situation before the riots, how many things have to be attributed to the political masters, that is very well documented in public domain, that how they have played particular role in this riot. Despite all this, I am not saying in details about Gujarat and Muzaffarnagar. They also faced the same thing. There was a boy called Shahnawaz who was killed, and in counter there were 2 brothers, Sachin and Gaurav, who were killed. Now, one set of attackers have been convicted, another set of attackers have been left free. Same way in Gujarat, the picture that has come in public domain will shake you from your heart. Your conscience will start shaking. But still, justice has not been delivered. Now it is the time when everybody should help the system in their own way. If there is a lawyer, he should help the victim. If there is a neighbor and his neighbor has certain issue in court, and if he can stand as a witness on their behalf, he has seen something, he should come forward, go to the court, and depose themselves that this is what they have seen. The police system, whatever they have done in the past, they should forget that, and they should do the investigation and arrest the correct people. Now there are many FIRs in which the attackers have been named. Only because they are influential people, they have not been arrested. Why? So even the court system in Muzaffarnagar riots, within 8 days, the Supreme Court had started supervising the entire investigation process. The SIT was reporting to the Supreme Court, and they kept reporting for 6 months. This did not happen in this, but even now it can be done. See, evidences can't disappear in such a short span of time. It can still be done, but the entire system has to wake up. As far as our report is concerned, see, we were fact-finding committee. Certainly we are at much better footing, because this fact-finding committee was constituted by a statutory commission which is empowered to do this. And we have given this report. Till now, nobody has been able to point out even a single line that is incorrect in our report. If this is correct, and the recommendation is in the background of the facts that we have narrated in the body of report, why different department should not accept this report and immediately act upon it? Why the compensation issue should be lingered on so much? See, these are poor people. We have said that the very, very little amount of compensation is paid to them. They need to be compensated with their actual damage. See, there are many who have not even attended to till now. Forget about compensation. So these are the issues which the government should take seriously, and this is the report which gives them opportunity to immediately act upon it, though they are not obliged to accept it, or they are not, the report is not binding upon them. But they should realize the problem, the seriousness of the issues. The citizens, ultimately, these are citizens, and they are suffering. They are your own people. If you don't care about their problem, what are you doing? What is the duty of the government? What the police is doing if they are not able to investigate the matter properly, and and they are not arresting the people who have been named in the FIR? So these are the issues. At every stage we need some work. You have to put your mic, you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, sir. I have to ask some question about laws and judiciary. We don't know much about it because you know complex things well. We have heard Justice Muralidharan. He said something when the riots broke out, and he asked police. I think you have also mentioned it in your report, that he asked Delhi police to file cases or FIR against those who are giving provocative speeches, and police advocate Mr. Tushar said that at appropriate time it will be registered. When that appropriate time will come, I think is not court taking note of that. 4 weeks of time were given. Is that time not over? We have heard about Prasad Bhushan doing court of contempt, but if police do not register cases against those who are responsible for Delhi riots that took the life of as many as 55 people and injured more than 250 people. Is it not court of contempt? When will the court take suo motu actions? I think we have heard about newspapers that court has taken suo motu action in that case, and it was very historic moment. But why court is so silent? I think as a citizen, I am asking, sir, we don't know much about law. Please educate us.
See, as far as legal position is concerned, you have mentioned about Mr. Tushar Mehta's statement of appropriate time. I am really sorry to say that statement is completely wrong, and not only wrong, but unfortunate. Reason I'll give you. The kind of legal mechanism we have about registration of FIR is like this. If somebody says that, see, some cognizable offense has happened, some serious offense has happened, and goes to the police station, Supreme Court says that the police has no option but to register the FIR. In many judgments, they said this. 2014, in Lalita Kumari case, they said, 5 judges bench, they summarized the entire situation and they said that it is not only obligatory, it is mandatory for the police to register an FIR once somebody reports cognizable offense to the police. Now, what police can do? Police can only check whether after reading of the content of the complaint, whether the offense reflected is cognizable or not. Beyond that, there is no option with the police to register an FIR. They have to mandatorily register an FIR. There could be certain exception like medical negligence, family issues, husband, wife, and if you see there is a triple talaq legislation in which that aspect also has been targeted to a particular community, that you will register immediate FIR. This probably on this issue will go against Lalita Kumari. So that statement saying that appropriate time has not come, that is completely against law. There is no justification. FIR should have been lodged immediately forthwith. Second, FIR on which charge sheet has been filed and Tahir Hussain is inside the jail relates to conspiracy of killing of Mr. Ankit Sharma. Obviously, any killing is unfortunate, and Mr. Ankit Sharma's killing is also unfortunate. But the police on its own has registered FIR on which charge sheet has been filed. There are many other FIRs which the police on its own has registered FIR. Why can't the same thing happen in other cognizable offenses, including the statement of Mr. Kapil Mishra? This is number one. Number two, the recent affidavit that has come in the Delhi High Court, they are saying that, see, we have investigated and found that there is nothing credible to register an FIR. There is no actionable evidence to register an FIR. Again, this is against law. You don't need to examine actionable evidence to register an FIR. You need this for filing charge sheet, not for registration of FIR. Now, civil society should ask the police that, sir, have you investigated every complaint before registration of FIR? Have you found first actionable evidence to register FIR and then you have lodged FIR against Tahir Hussain and everybody? The answer is going to come from the police. No. Then why this dual standard everywhere? For one set of person, you say that there is no actionable evidence. For other set of person, first FIR is registered and then you go and do the investigation. So these are the larger issues should be spoken about the civil society should come out and ask these questions to these people. Ultimately, it is a criminal justice process. It can't be played around like this. Again, please unmute Mr. Abhay.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I should move to Devika ji. I think things are not very positive, I think, on at this time it appears. And you have also said in your presentation, you have also expressed your concern and disappointment. But we have to find a way. We have to find a way. The recommendation is here. So would you like to say something?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, actually when sir referred to the Hashimpura case, I think it's a story to tell in terms of, it's a case in which the final judgment meant that police officers were convicted, and they were, and you know, acquittals were overturned by a higher court, and in the same judgment, the court actually did, just like sir said, I think it's probably one of the first admissions that this was a targeted attack and killing against a minority community, that it speaks of institutional bias within that police force was the UP police. The using of the term institutional bias in itself is it's a game changer. It's a precedent which hasn't happened before. That same Justice Muralidharan was also the judge in court on the 26th of February, who in this matter against, when the petition was taken to court against Kapil Mishra, Parvesh Verma, and one more leader, I'm sorry, I can't remember the last name. But in fact, in court, Justice Muralidharan did question the Delhi police and the government's counsel in terms of the delay and the lack of acknowledgement of the Delhi police as these speeches as crimes on their own. Now, that same institution within, and Justice Muralidharan at that stage on 26 February said that we will reconvene in 24 hours and I will want to hear from the Delhi police about the registration of the FIR. And then, I mean, we all know what happened in terms of it wasn't a transfer effected at midnight, but the sudden that now you must go, that happened, very fast. So we can see the wheels of a system in motion, which even at a time, I mean, it's the same thing, which is this attack on the Delhi Minorities Commission. When you have institutions which are working towards the lawful response, the response which is only there, which is to be done, those institutions are then stymied, blocked, obstructed, people are harassed, people are intimidated, etc. So, we really are in this morass of this kind of system. I think the Hashimpura judgment came after the entire case had to be transferred from the state of UP to Delhi. It came after the dogged persistence of certain lawyers, including Vrinda Grover, who just kept on with the families and made sure that they never felt that they were alone or left alone. And then finally, I think, a collegium of, several lawyers like Rebecca John and others worked together to ensure that, to get that kind of ruling. But it took that much effort. And it took, I think, the fact that Justice Muralidharan was on the bench also made a big difference. So unfortunately, it's also that our institutional cultures are not based in, it is all personality led. If you have somebody who is on the right side of the law and on the right side of just the mandated duty which they have, you will have an institution which is on the site of violence, just like the Delhi Minorities Commission. In the middle of violence, Zafar Saab and others were there. Who else was there? Nobody else was there. And civil society was there to their own, to dangers for themselves. And individual lawyers like Shamshad sir were there. But which other institution was there? So again, I do find that I think the power of documenting, the importance of documenting so that we have some record of, a perspective which is based on objective reason, fact, testimony, etc. That is something which on its own right now, I think that in itself is a big benchmark. I think the kind of message that Zafar Saab has been giving, that this is something which we have it comes from from a government body, and it is truly documentation also for the future. I wish I could share Sir's, I agree that when Sir says that we also need, we need action at different levels. It is a legal fight. It is a systems fight. It is also a fight at the level of social relations. It's at a fight at the level of community, at the level of neighbor to neighbor, etc. And I think that, in the ethos which we still have, all of that is also still there. There are people and neighbors who protected each other. There are people who rescued people from the violence, etc. So that spirit is it is also there. And hopefully it is, I think the huge support to Dr. Anwar, who runs Al-Hind Hospital, from the community, from people. I just read an article yesterday where he said that if one member of my family gets a little bit sick, then, 10 people come and say, how can we help? Now, for me at this stage, I take heart from those kinds of, that true human compassion, kindness, which is very much there, alive and well, but I think is being, it's not being able, unfortunately, we don't have a state apparatus which is allowing all of that to blossom. It's allowing other things to come forward. So I would say the documentation effort on its own is something which is there and can be preserved. I do wonder about intervention right now, just because it can so easily get twisted and turned into something else. And I don't have an answer for that. But I think more and more just reinforcing of this same, the messaging which is coming out, that this was something which was targeted and it was planned. And it came in the context of so many things, especially, the criminalization of dissent, the criminalization of legitimate democratic protest, all of that, which has led to this. So, we all wrote up the recommendations together, and we do certainly believe in those and would want those to go forward. So, the formation of a committee, etc. I feel that if anything can go forward, it has to be court monitored in some way. I think that's the only way in which maybe we might have some measure at some levels. Maybe individual cases will be dealt with. But this systemic probing of the Delhi police and its role, and that is a very, very big issue. It needs to be done with a lot of preparation and also in an atmosphere in which it is conducive for it to be done.
Thank you. Thank you, Devika Prasad ji. I think documentation is very important, and Dr. Khan is here. I was in his office some time back, and I asked him, "Sir, हम लोग बहुत कुछ लिखते हैं, कुछ होता नहीं है. We write a lot, but nothing really happened." And he said, "आप काम कीजिए और उसको document करके छोड़ दीजिए." So I think when we have documented something, this time I don't think that the government will be able to delete it, because it is there, it is in the memory of the people. I think I have also taken notes of that. So many people have taken notes of that. This discussion is there. So this time they won't be able to delete it. I think that we should not see police in isolation. Police is very much part of the political agenda. I think we call it that it's a democracy, and in democracy, institutions has to be autonomous. But in a country where the rule is not based on justice, when the rule is based on hatred, when the rule is based on excluding people, when the rule is based on one religion, one culture, one nation, and it is even not one religion, it is a group of few caste, a group of few upper caste people who are trying to control everything. So political angle is also very important. So unless seen at political level changes, the police will not start behaving well. I think this is one issue. I think I consider is very important. Another issue is also, which I have done some study, representation at police. The representation of Muslims and deprived communities is very abysmal. I think Muslim constitutes around 13 to 14% at this moment, and in police at all India level, they are just 6 to 7%. And unfortunately, the government has stopped after the new regime took over publishing data about Muslims. So this is also a big issue, and we should not forget that when independence, we achieved independence, Muslims were in good number in police and army, and then institutional discrimination began. And slowly and gradually, they were reduced to 3 and 4 and 5 and 6%. So for me, I think this is just my suggestions that political issue and representation should be kept at the center. And those people who are talking about police reforms like Prakash Rai and other people, Prakash Singh, I think they do not touch this issue. Now, I think we should move to another level, question answer, and I will read out. We have received some questions. I would read out and briefly. I think if the question is directed to a particular person, that person will reply. And if it is not directed, that any panelist, any member of the panelist can speak. And after that, we will give maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes to each of a speaker to give concluding remarks. And after that, we will wind up this discussion. So let me start with Dr. Khan. Sagar Chaudhary, I think Mr. Sagar Chaudhary from Karwa, he has sent one question. Sir, I would request Dr. Khan to elaborate on his communication with Delhi government, police and Supreme Court during riots and after the riots. I would request him to be specific to whom he spoke to and what was the response he got from LG, Police Commissioner, Delhi government's prosecution law department during the span of last 4 months since the riots. Thanks. Big question, sir.
Actually, if you are talking about the Northeast riots, we started taking note of it and interest and writing from the 24th itself to the police commissioner, to the LG, to the chief minister, to the deputy chief minister, and to the area DCP. And this is all recorded in our latest annual report. So I would ask Mr. Sagar to check this report, and it is online, of course, with the papers that he has, and he will find all these details. Not just of these, also earlier also when the Jamia Millia students were attacked and people of the Jamia were attacked on the 15th of December last year, we also took very much interest, very active interest, and this also is all mentioned and documented in that annual report. So I would like him to read that report, and he will find a lot in that report. But as he said, what was their response? Usually there was no response, or the response was not adequate, not satisfactory, like the response from the police. For instance, when we asked them why you are arresting all these youth without any charges and all that, they said that no, and we arrest only when there are specific charges, which I think was not correct, but this was their answer.
I think, sir, thank you very much. Sumit Anand, I think he has sent a question, and I would like to read it out. It has not been directed at any person. So I think Devika Prasad ji or Shamshad ji, I think you can take up this question, or you both can speak. And let me read it out. Mr. Sumit Anand, an order signed by a special CP, Commissioner Police, dated July 8, asking the Delhi Police to go soft on Hindus and remain alert to the feelings of the Hindus community while investigating the pogrom? Doesn't that put a question mark on the impartiality of the investigation and police and displays the ability of the police to implicate one community at the cost of another? I think we are discussing the same issue um, for some time, but yes, I think if you want to say something or add something, uh, uh, you can join. Devika ji or Mr. Shamshad?
Devika ji, you want to say something?
Sir, actually, I talked. You go ahead, sir. I'll follow you.
The entire background that we have given and we have documented in the report, including the facts which were shown on television camera, etc., about the role of police and the narration testimonies of the victims, they all challenge the role of police. They challenge the impartiality of police. Now, in this background, the police says that I have arrested 1,400 persons and I will disclose the name. That itself says so many things. I don't need to get into this issue. In this background, this is complete brazenness of police coming up with this, that see, it is giving an indication as if you have done enough arrest of one community, and if you are eyeing on the other community, please stop. This is not acceptable. This is not done. This is too much. And this letter itself should be the sole reason to transfer the entire investigation to an independent SIT. This is how I think about this.
Devika ji.
So actually, I talked about this special CP's letter in my own, I mean, not letter, but order, in fact, in my talk. And again, I mean, you know, just I think we should also just recognize that the Indian Express put this on its front page so that it actually came into the public domain, that this is an order which was issued. On this question of, you know, not disclosing arrests, now on not disclosing FIRs, maybe you can, there's a little bit of leeway because there's a Supreme Court judgment which lays down that all FIRs are to be uploaded on the state police website, but it gives the police some discretion, a higher officer, some discretion to decide that if a case is deemed sensitive, they will not upload it. Now, we can, I mean, we don't have to argue about what is, you know, but the point is that they're allowed that discretion to say that, so we will not upload. And I think, and that's the argument and the rationale that the Delhi police is taking to not upload FIRs relating to the violence cases. On arrests and not disclosing arrests, this is in fact a violation of law. The DK Basu, a famous case in which the Supreme Court laid down guidelines to prevent, in fact, illegal arrest or, you know, custodial violence, called DK Basu versus State of West Bengal. Detailed guidelines were given. Many of those guidelines have also now come into law. So they're not just they don't have the force of law just by being a judgment of the Supreme Court, guidelines by the Supreme Court, but also by statute. One of those provisions is that every person who is arrested, their name and the offenses for which they are being arrested and the arresting officer, all of those names, etc., must be put up at the district police control room. It hasn't, in the DK Basu guidelines, it actually says every 12 hours. So there is a legal mandate on the police to disclose the names and where people are being kept at the district level for every arrest. And the Delhi police has not even attended to that provision of law. The Delhi police actually does indicate, it gives daily arrest reports on its website, but you know, you have to search by district and it may not always be complete. So already, I mean, it's violation on, you know, it's legal violation on legal violation that's also happening here. And this, I agree with sir in terms of the reading of this order, that it smacks of a bias towards, you know, it's not just a bias towards a community, but it's also in this question of giving it's due care and precaution to be made to be taken while making arrests. Because one community is feeling resentful, one community is feeling pressured. This messaging, and it's a contradiction in terms that you begin an order by saying one community is feeling resentful, so let's ensure that we make no arbitrary arrests at all. That's a contradiction, isn't it? You're starting with privileging one community and then trying to, you know, sort of cover it up by saying, okay, well, let's just, you know, we should ensure that there be no arbitrary arrests anywhere. And I mean, you can argue that it goes absolutely against the spirit of Article 14 and equal protection of the law, which everyone is entitled to in this country. And the police are mandated to uphold. So it's like sir said, just this order alone is ground enough to say that this is not an impartial investigating agency.
I think
just to add 2 lines,
yes.
Devika has very beautifully explained it. See, the judgment of 2016, which gives the discretion to the police that they can withhold certain FIRs. See, that judgment indicates in which area you can withhold the FIRs and not make it public. They have explained that in cases of terrorism, insurgency, rape, and POXO. So these are 4 indications that have been given in the judgment where the police has to take a decision whether this is sensitive or not. Secondly, I am not saying that discretion could not be exercised to see the other sensitive cases. Yes, you can do that. But again, there is an issue that you are selectively disclosing certain information that suits you or the system, whereas when somebody wants complete impartiality, you take garb of some Supreme Court judgment which is primarily for certain area, not in general area. So that is also a matter of concern everywhere. These are the issues, you know. When you start examining everything in details, you find these kind of problems.
Sir, we have to take a few questions together because we are already going out of the time. So Mr. Dharmaraj Kumar, he has sent a question, and he has said, again, we are discussing the same thing, that the people, the leaders who were responsible for giving hateful speeches, they should be arrested. I think this is his concern, very valid and very genuine concern. Nitisha Khalko has also said that conviction should happen, that people should be arrested, those who are responsible. And Mr. Shahid Meo, he has sent a question, and I should read it out. Sir, the dubious role of the police and media is well known. How could you see the role of judiciary in the aftermath of Delhi riots? My concern is that that even the judiciary is much doubted domain now, so to say that the higher ups are the controlled and the lower rung too much corrupt and biased. What may be the possible implications for any possible implications towards attaining the justice to the victims of the tragic riots? Basically, he's saying that there is a contradiction. People at the top are being controlled. People at the low, they are corrupt. So these questions are very much related, and much of answers that could possibly be to these questions we have already said. Sir, if you want to add something to what we have already said, you can come forward.
Is it for me?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Do you want an answer from me?
Sir, anybody can take up
Okay.
this question, sir. Anybody, or briefly, all of you can speak very briefly. Yes. Dr. Khan,
I think
you begin with.
Advocate Shamshad Saab can tackle this better than me.
See, there are certain observations which few of the participants have raised, and we have answered in details. But yes, I agree. That's what Justice Delhi High Court judge felt about, that why FIR should not be registered against the person who has instigated the whole lot, and that has taken 54 lives. So it is not only we as citizens of this country feel like, even the institution like High Court felt about it, but the police and the Solicitor General says that it is there is no actionable evidence. And that's where we have to fight. We have to see the society and the institution in a perspective that, see, ultimately we have to see that these things are not repeated in future. If you ignore such a serious issue, and the police can ignore, the political masters can ignore. See, I would tell you one thing. See, for last 5-6 years, there were a series of lynching taking place in the entire country, and one particular community was being victimized in much more larger number than other people. But ultimately, some day came when the police itself became victim in Bulandshahr, and that is very, very serious issue. Same way, if you talk about general crime, what has happened in Kanpur? A group of 8 police persons were put to death at one go. Why you can't wake up in advance to see that a person facing 60 cases can't be arrested? Because of favoritism, because of certain illegal considerations, because certain instructions given by political masters. Whereas for petty theft, you keep people in jail for years and years. There was that Akshardham temple attack of 2001, in which there were 16 people who were arrested, and ultimately they were kept in jail for about 13 years. Ultimately, Supreme Court decided this matter, saying that they were not involved. And thereafter, these people go to the court, or related people go to the court, saying that, sorry, you have ruined my life. This police system has ruined my life. Now you direct them to grant compensation to us. The court says that, sorry, this was oral observation of Justice Deepak Mishra, saying that, sorry, we can't do this. This will affect the morale of the police system. So every day, police is refusing to register FIR despite the binding direction of the Supreme Court in Lalita Kumari case. Why the court is not taking contempt notice against these people once they get to know that this has happened? So there are lapses. There are lapses on the at the level of police. There are lapses on at the level of bureaucracy. The lapses also on the at the level of court system. Obviously, the politicians play this entire issue for their political benefit. So they are certainly beneficiary of it, and they will not take right action at right time. So these are all the issues, and like Devika ji has also said, and I also emphasize this issue. The time that we are passing through is very peculiar. See, it is not as if it was not there earlier. Most of the communal rights issues have been handled almost in a similar fashion. But right now, it's the kind of intensity these issues have gone and got. and the kind of brazenness that we see all around, that is too much, and we will have to wake up. Otherwise, those police were responsible. They were hit upon by the general public, and they were killed. So you never know. If you condone these issues, then certainly this is going to bounce back on the very institution itself, and we all should be worried about it. Thank you.
I think, sir, we are getting more and more questions. So I think we have to close it by 7 o'clock. I don't know. And then concluding remarks, you should also give. So you can take a pen and paper and you can note down the questions and anybody can respond. A few
Yeah, Abhay
questions
bhai.
have come up.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Abhay bhai. So time is already more. So by 7 we have to end this.
Okay. So by 7
So that,
o'clock we have to
you
end
can
it.
take the concluding words.
So
from
I think
our
we
guest.
don't have any time to take questions, sir. I began discussion with you, Dr. Zafarul-Islam Khan. This time I am taking another route. I will start from Devika ji. You give your concluding remark, and after that, Advocate Shamshad Sahab, and then Dr. Zafarul-Islam Khan. Yes, Devika ji. Very brief, 2 minutes, not more than that, or less than that.
I'll be less than that. I mean, the only thing, unfortunately, it's also difficult to be to end on a hopeful note, but I would say that I think in terms of just this issue of documentation, I think what we've tried to do with the support of the Minorities Commission is one effort, strong effort at documentation. And I've noticed that, there's been comment on the media's role, etc. But I just want to highlight here that I think the very courageous independent media, both international and domestic, and I'm thinking of places like the Quint and Caravan, who have truly been, they are building an archive of certainly state complicity, inaction, connivance, etc. in what happened in Delhi February in this time. And that's also something which I think it is going to be something which at least we have it, and it's there, and it can't be, anything can be refuted, but it is there, and it's based on very good legwork, etc. And it comes from people, it comes from individual stories, and also documentation.
I have to make an
intervention. I'm sorry.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, Advocate Shamshad Sahab, very briefly.
I have stated a lot of things which can be also taken as concluding remarks, but at the end I must say that either way you look at it, whether it is communal violence, whether it is pogrom, we all need to take lessons from the past. And we should always take a stand which somehow goes or is a step forward in achieving the larger justice to the victims, so that in future such violences don't take place. And for that, the responsibility lies on all of us, whether we are individual citizens, the academicians, press. Obviously, large part of it goes on police and the government. Thank
Dr.
you.
Khan, Dr. Khan.
Yeah, I think at the end, I would like to say that the kind of attention that this riot has received from the media, international and national as well, and from civil society, from legal fraternity, and from intellectuals in the country, I think this will go a long way to stop the repetition of this kind of violence in the future. I think this kind of attention that the riots of February got internationally is unprecedented, and I think that in a way this will put a break, not a full break, but somehow I think it will affect the future planning of people who are planning and executing this kind of rights. That will be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Democracy Dialogue and Center for Peace Studies. We have been talking about the fact-finding report, which has been prepared under the leadership of Advocate M.R. Shamshad, who was just speaking with us. And Devika Prasad ji was one of the members. And Dr. Zafarul-Islam Khan, as a chairperson of that of Delhi Minority Commissions, has set up that fact-finding report. The fact-finding report has given very important conclusion, evidence, empirical evidence. It says that those people who have been charge-sheeted, put behind the bar, they are not responsible for communal violence that took place in February, in which around 55 people have died. In fact, it was well organized, well planned. That plan was to divert the attention from a mass movement that was being building up against sectarian and religion-based CAA. Thank you very much, Dr. Zafarul-Islam Khan, M.R. Shamshad, Advocate Devika ji. I think it's pleasure talking to you and learning from you. And I think I'm requesting organizer to hold another meeting, because Delhi Minority Commission have made another very important report on the conditions of Muslims women in northeastern district. I have read some pages of that. I think we should hold another meeting on that. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Report on Sikhs, those who are victims of 84 riots. That is also a wonderful report. That should also be discussed in public domain. This is my suggestion.
Okay.
Yes, sure. We'll
Thank
host
you, sir.
similar.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Abhay. Thank you, Shamshad Saab, Zafar Saab, Devika ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.